Welcome. I'm Dan Rahill. I am a managing director with Wintrust Wealth Services and a past chairman of the Illinois CPA Society. At the Society, we've put together this series of 8 short videos around the CARES Act, the third in a series of monumental COVID-19 relief packages. This episode is our 6th in our series of 8, and today we're going to be talking about payroll tax credits. Now, you'll recall that the FFCRA, the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act that was passed in March 2020, required certain employers to pay sick or family leave pay to employees that are unable to work because of COVID-19. That act included payroll tax credits to employers to help reimburse them for these additional costs. The CARES Act payroll tax credits are different than those, but interrelated in that you can't double dip, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about the Employee Retention Tax Credit under the CARES Act. This is a fully refundable tax credit for employers equal to 50% of qualified wages that eligible employers pay their employees. Those qualified wages must be paid between March 12, 2020 and January 1, 2021. And the maximum amount of this 50% credit is up to $10,000, so that the maximum credit for an eligible employer for qualified wages paid to employee is $5,000. An eligible employer includes tax-exempt organizations and those carrying on a trade or business during calendar year 2020, and the operation of that trade or business is either fully or partially suspended due to COVID-19, or gross receipts for at least one calendar quarter are less than 50% of the gross receipts during the same calendar quarter of the prior year. Ineligible employers include those receiving PPP loans that we talked about in module number 3, or federal, state, and local government employers. What are qualified wages? Well, those are based on average number of full-time employees that an employer has. If it's more than 100, you are eligible if the employee is unable to provide services due to one of the identified circumstances. If it's 100 or less employees, they're eligible regardless of whether the employee is able to provide services to the employer. Qualified wage limitations, well, as we said, it can't exceed $10,000 per employee. It may not exceed amounts that would have been paid for a similar period, and it denies the double counting of wages, both under the WOTC, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, that's available under IRC Section 51, or, as I said earlier, the employer credit for paid family and medical leave under the FFCRA. There's also potential IRS deposit penalty relief if deposits are made late, and additional regulations have come out since, providing Form 7200, advance payment of employer credits due to COVID-19. What does that form do? Well, Information Release 2020-62, dated March 31, 2020, stated eligible employers will report their total qualified wages and related health insurance costs for each quarter on their quarterly employment tax returns, or Form 941, beginning with the second quarter. Excess limitations up to the $5,000 maximum credit will carry over to subsequent quarters. That means that if you can only take $4,000 of credit for a particular employee in the second quarter, an additional $1,000 up to the cap of $5,000 will carry over to the third quarter of 2020. And if the employer's employment tax deposits are not sufficient to cover the credit, the employer may receive an advance payment from the IRS by submitting this new Form 7200. And with that, we've concluded the discussion of payroll tax credits under the CARES Act. Next up, be ready to listen to our module number 7, in which we'll discuss retirement and employee benefit plan provisions. Thank you.